The desert night crackles with danger. A young girl's desperate cries drowned by the roar of a biker gang's engines. Keanu Reeves, a lone rider scarred by a shadowed past, stands as her only shield against a ruthless syndicate. Would you risk everything to save a stranger from chaos, or let fear chain you to the sidelines? The Nevada desert sprawls beneath a blood-red sunset, its vast silence shattered by the growing rumble of motorcycles, a menacing pulse in the twilight. At a crumbling gas station, its neon sign flickering like a dying star, Lucy, 16, crouches behind a rusted pump, her face pale, eyes wide with terror. Her tattered backpack, clutched like a lifeline, holds evidence that could topple Rico, 30s. A brutal biker gang leader whose syndicate traffics drugs, weapons, and human lives across 3 states, Nevada, Arizona, and California. Lucy's hands tremble as she whispers, "I should have kept walking." Her phone contains photos, snapped in a dark alley after school, showing Rico's men loading crates of narcotics, automatic rifles, and shadowy figures in chains, their faces obscured but their fear etched in every frame. The images, time-stamped and geotagged, are a death sentence if Rico finds her. The roar of engines crescendos, a storm of steel and malice closing in, dust swirling like a warning. A lone black motorcycle slices through the dusk, its rider dismounting with quiet purpose. Keanu, 40s, rugged, clad in worn leather, his eyes blending compassion and steel, scans the scene with a predator's focus. His face, weathered by time and unspoken battles, carries a quiet intensity. He spots Lucy's panic, his boots crunching gravel as he approaches. "You in trouble, kid?" he asks, his voice steady as granite, cutting through her fear. Lucy's voice cracks, barely audible. "They're after me. I saw their deal, drugs, guns, girls in cages. I took pictures." Her words tumble out, laced with dread, as she glances at her backpack, the weight of its contents heavier than the canvas itself. Before Keanu can respond, 6 bikers skid into the lot, kicking up clouds of dust that dance in the fading light. Leading them is Rico, his snake tattoo curling menacingly around his neck, a heavy chain dangling from his hand, glinting with menace. "Hand over the bag, girl," he snarls, his voice dripping with threat, "or we carve you up, and your hero too." Keanu steps forward, placing himself between Lucy and the gang, his posture relaxed but his eyes like daggers, sharp and unyielding. "She's with me now. Walk away." Rico's laugh is venomous, a guttural sound that echoes across the lot, as his gang fans out, weapons glinting. Knives with jagged edges, chains coiled like snakes, a pistol catching the last rays of sunlight. Lucy's heart hammers, her breath shallow, but Keanu's calm is unshaken, a quiet storm brewing beneath his weathered exterior. "Last chance," he says, his voice low and deadly, each word a warning carved in stone. Rico swings his chain, the air hissing, and chaos explodes like a thunderclap. Keanu moves like a predator, dodging the chain with fluid grace, his body a blur of instinct and training. He snatches a wrench from the gas station counter, swinging it with precision, smashing it into a biker's jaw with a sickening crunch that sends him crumpling. He flips a discarded tire into another's legs, toppling him into the dust, and uses his bike as a shield against a knife-wielding thug, the blade scraping metal. The fight is raw, brutal, yet balletic. Keanu's every move calculated, honed by years of unseen battles, perhaps military, perhaps something darker, a past etched in the scars on his knuckles. Lucy, frozen behind the pump, watches in awe, her fear warring with a spark of defiance igniting within her. A biker lunges toward her, his knife gleaming with malicious intent. Her hands shake, but she grabs a rusty pipe from the ground, swinging it with all her might. It connects, knocking him out cold, his body slumping like a rag doll. Keanu glances back, a grin flashing mid-fight, his eyes glinting with approval. "Nice swing, kid," he says, his voice cutting through the chaos as he disarms another biker with a swift kick to the wrist. Rico, enraged by their defiance, pulls a pistol, his face a mask of fury. Bullets spark off the pump, spitting shards of metal as Keanu tackles Lucy to the ground, shielding her with his body, his leather jacket absorbing the impact of debris. His eyes catch a leaking gas tank nearby, a faint drip pooling on the cracked pavement, its fumes heavy in the air. "Stay low," he whispers, his voice steady despite the gunfire, a beacon of calm in the storm. He flicks his lighter, its flame dancing briefly, and tosses it toward the leak. A fireball erupts, a roaring inferno that scatters the bikers in a wave of heat and chaos, the explosion lighting up the desert like a second sun. Rico screams, his leather jacket singed, his face twisted in fury as he stumbles back, cursing through the smoke. "Run!" Keanu shouts, his voice cutting through the roar of flames. Lucy bolts for his bike, clutching her backpack, the evidence inside her only leverage against the syndicate. Keanu lands a bone-crunching punch, dropping the last standing biker, his fist a blur of controlled rage. They peel out, the motorcycle's engine roaring as they speed away, the burning gas station illuminating the night like a beacon of defiance, its flames licking the sky. The desert swallows the chaos behind them, but the danger is far from over. The motorcycle thunders down the highway, Lucy clinging to Keanu, the wind whipping her hair as stars pierce the velvet sky. "They won't stop," she says, her voice trembling over the engine's growl, the weight of her words heavy with truth. "They'll have to catch us first," Keanu replies, his tone resolute, his eyes scanning the road ahead for threats. He veers onto a hidden dirt trail, winding through jagged hills, the path barely visible in the moonlight. They reach a safe house, a weathered cabin tucked in a rocky ravine, its windows dark, blending seamlessly into the landscape. Inside, the air is musty, the walls lined with maps pinned with red string, old photos of faces Lucy doesn't recognize, and a locked crate in the corner, hints of Keanu's mysterious past. A faded dog tag hangs on a nail, its edges worn, suggesting a military history, or something less official. Lucy opens her backpack, revealing a battered phone and a USB drive, its casing scratched but intact. The photos show Rico's gang loading crates, drugs in vacuum-sealed bags, automatic weapons stacked like firewood, and worse, glimpses of chained figures, their eyes hollow with despair, locked in cages like animals. Timestamps and geotags mark every image, a digital trail of Rico's crimes. "I was cutting through an alley after school," she says, her voice shaky but resolute. "Heard screams, saw their truck. I thought I could help, but I didn't know it'd make me a target." Keanu studies the images, his jaw tight, a flicker of pain crossing his face, as if the photos stir memories he's buried deep. "This isn't just a gang," he says, his voice low. "It's a syndicate tied to dirty cops, maybe feds. They'll kill to keep this buried." Lucy's eyes widen, fear creeping back like a shadow. "Then what do we do?" Keanu pulls a burner phone from his jacket, its screen cracked but functional. "We call Agent Carter, FBI. He's one of the good ones. But we've got to move fast. Rico's not done." Headlights pierce the darkness, engines roaring closer, louder than before. Rico's gang, battered but bolstered by reinforcements. 10 bikers now, their bikes modified with spiked wheels and reinforced frames, has tracked them, their pursuit relentless. Keanu curses softly, his eyes scanning the cabin's defenses. Reinforced windows with steel shutters, a trapdoor to a crawlspace beneath the floor, and a crate holding a small arsenal. Pistols, a shotgun, and a few homemade explosives, their fuses neatly coiled. "Ever shoot a gun, kid?" he asks, his tone calm but urgent. Lucy shakes her head, her hands trembling. He hands her a small pistol from his boot, showing her the basics with quick, precise movements. "Point and pull if it comes to it. If I go down, hide in the crawlspace." Lucy nods, gripping the pistol, her fear battling a growing resolve, a spark of courage she didn't know she had. Keanu's gaze softens for a moment, a rare crack in his stoic exterior. "You're tougher than you know, Lucy. Hold on to that." He moves to the crate, pulling out a shotgun and rigging a tripwire at the door, his hands steady despite the approaching danger. "They're coming hard," he says. "We make them pay for every step." Rico's gang circles the cabin, their bikes idling like growling beasts, headlights casting long, menacing shadows across the rocky terrain. Rico, his face burned and twisted with rage, steps forward, a shotgun in hand, his snake tattoo stark against his singed skin. "You're done, hero," he shouts, his voice dripping with venom. "Give her up, or we burn this place down with you in it." Keanu steps onto the porch, his own shotgun raised, his silhouette framed by moonlight, a lone figure against a tide of violence. "You're on my turf now," he says, his voice like ice, each word a challenge. The fight is brutal, a symphony of violence under the desert stars. Keanu uses the terrain to his advantage, luring bikers into traps. A tripwire drops a heavy log, crushing a bike's front wheel. A hidden ditch flips another into a rock wall, the rider tumbling into the dirt. He moves with lethal grace, disarming one thug with a twist of the wrist, slamming another into the ground with a judo throw that speaks of years of training. His past, military, mercenary, or vigilante, shows in every precise strike, every calculated move. Inside, Lucy hears glass shatter, the sound sharp and jarring. A biker crashes through a window, his knife gleaming with malicious intent. Her hands shake, but she fires the pistol, grazing his arm, the recoil jarring her small frame. "Stay down," she yells, her voice fierce, surprising herself with its ferocity. The biker retreats, stumbling back into the night, clutching his wound. Outside, the battle intensifies. Keanu takes a hit, a chain grazes his shoulder, tearing his leather jacket, blood seeping through. But he fights on, his resolve unbreakable. Two bikers try to flank him, their bikes roaring as they close in. He tosses a homemade flashbang from the crate, its blinding light and deafening bang disorienting them long enough for him to knock them out with precise, bone-crunching strikes. Rico, seeing his men fall, charges Keanu, his knife slashing wildly, a desperate bid to end the fight. They grapple, the blade inches from Keanu's throat, their struggle kicking up dust in the moonlight, their breaths ragged. Lucy, defying her fear, bursts onto the porch, swinging a chair that catches Rico across the back, stunning him with a dull thud. Keanu seizes the moment, delivering a knockout punch that leaves Rico sprawled in the dirt, his shotgun clattering away. Sirens wail in the distance. Agent Carter's FBI team, closing in fast, their helicopters buzzing overhead like vultures circling a kill. Keanu drags Rico's unconscious form to the porch, securing him with zip ties from his pack, his movements swift and practiced. He turns to Lucy, a nod of respect in his eyes, his breath heavy but controlled. "You're a fighter, kid." FBI agents swarm the scene, their flashlights cutting through the dust as they cuff Rico's gang, the bikers' defiance reduced to muttered curses. Lucy hands the USB drive to Agent Carter, 50s. A grizzled Fed with honest eyes and a weathered face, his badge glinting under the cabin's dim light. "You're brave, kid," Carter says, examining the drive, his voice gruff but warm. "This'll take down Rico's network, 3 states, corrupt officials, human trafficking, the whole syndicate." Keanu leans against the wall, blood trickling from his shoulder, his face unreadable but his eyes sharp, watching every move. "She's tougher than she looks," he says, his voice low, a hint of pride breaking through. Carter reveals the scale of Rico's operation. A multi-state empire funding a shadowy syndicate with tendrils in law enforcement, politics, and even private security firms. Lucy's photos, with their timestamps and geotags, are the key to dismantling it, exposing names and faces that have hidden in the shadows for years. But Rico, now awake in cuffs, glares at Lucy, his eyes burning with a promise of vengeance, his snake tattoo stark against his bruised skin. Keanu steps closer, his presence a silent shield, his gaze locking onto Rico's with a warning that needs no words. "He won't touch you," he murmurs to Lucy, his voice a vow etched in stone. Carter assigns Lucy a protection detail, but his expression is grim. "This syndicate's got long arms," he warns. "They'll come for you. Stay vigilant." As the FBI hauls Rico's gang away, their bikes confiscated and loaded onto trailers, Keanu and Lucy step outside, the desert air cool against their sweat-soaked skin. The sky is lightening, a faint pink creeping over the horizon, but the weight of the night lingers. Keanu checks his bike, its frame scuffed but intact, its engine still warm from the escape. Lucy, still clutching her backpack, looks at him, a question burning in her eyes. "Why'd you help me? You don't even know me." Keanu pauses, his gaze distant, haunted by ghosts that flicker in his eyes. "I knew someone like you once," he says softly, his voice heavy with regret. "Young, scared, and over her head. I didn't save her. Not this time." His words carry the weight of loss. A sister, a daughter, a friend lost to violence, a wound that drives him to protect where he once failed. Lucy nods, sensing the depth of his pain without pressing further. Carter approaches, handing Keanu a radio, its static crackling faintly. "We'll need your statement, but I know you won't stick around," Carter says, a knowing look in his eyes. Keanu smirks, taking the radio. "You know where to find me." He turns to Lucy, his eyes softening, a rare crack in his stoic facade. "You did something most people wouldn't, Lucy. You stood up. Don't forget that." Before leaving the cabin, Keanu leads Lucy to a hidden room behind a false wall, a relic of his past safe houses. Inside, a small safe contains cash, fake IDs, and a journal filled with coded notes, glimpses of his life on the road. Cities crossed out, names redacted, a map of safe routes through the desert. "If things go south," he says, handing her a spare burner phone, "use this. It's untraceable. Call Carter first, but if he's compromised, you disappear." Lucy takes the phone, her fingers brushing against his, and nods, her resolve hardening. Keanu shows her how to access the crawl space, a narrow tunnel leading to a hidden exit in the ravine, a last resort if the syndicate comes for her. "You're not just running anymore," he says. "You're fighting. Remember that." In a quiet roadside diner, its windows fogged with morning dew, Lucy sips coffee across from Keanu, the USB drive now with Carter's team, triggering raids across Nevada, Arizona, and California. Rico's empire is unraveling. Safe houses raided, corrupt officials exposed, human trafficking rings dismantled. Lucy's shaken but transformed, her fear replaced by a quiet strength, a fire kindled in the chaos. "They'll come for me again, won't they?" she asks, her voice steady despite the weight of the question. Keanu leans back, sipping his coffee, his weathered hands revealing a faded tattoo, a cross and dagger, hinting at a military or mercenary past, perhaps a special forces unit or a vigilante's oath. "Not if Carter does his job," he says. "Those photos will burn Rico's empire to the ground, root, branch, and all. But if they come, you'll be ready." He slides her a card with Carter's number, written in his own steady hand. "Need me, call him. He'll find me." Lucy studies the card, then looks at Keanu, her eyes searching. "Who are you really?" she asks. He smirks, standing and pulling on his jacket, the leather creaking softly. "Just a guy who hates bullies. Stay sharp, kid. You're a fighter now." Keanu mounts his bike, the engine roaring to life, a deep growl that echoes across the desert, stirring the morning mist. Lucy watches from the diner window, no longer just a victim. She's a survivor forged in fire, her courage a weapon as potent as Keanu's fists. Rico's empire is crumbling, but the syndicate's remnants will hunt her, their reach long and vengeful. With Keanu's card in her pocket, the burner phone hidden in her backpack, and her own resolve awakened, she's ready to face whatever comes. Keanu rides into the sunrise, a shadow on the road, a protector with secrets, a man whose past, whether military, mercenary, or vigilante, remains a mystery, but whose purpose is clear: to stand against chaos, one fight at a time. As the desert swallows him, Lucy knows she's not alone, and Keanu knows the road ahead holds more battles, more ghosts to outrun. The horizon glows, promising new dangers, but also new hope. Craving more heart-pounding action? Like, share, and comment. What would you do to protect someone like Lucy? Subscribe for more epic tales of courage and chaos.